I'm Sudeepthi Dondapati, working as an associate professor from the Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. As I'm here today to discuss a few phrasal verbs. In fact, I'm much delighted to share my views and thoughts on this very important topic. So, as I'm here to share my thoughts and also reflections pertaining to this topic, phrasal verbs. And so, before I go into the topic, I have a few thoughts to share with you prior to the concept we are going to discuss. So, when I titled Phrasal Verbs for Effective Communication, so what do I mean by that? So, you can name it as phrasal verbs, which is one of the important topics in the English language. But in fact, you eliminate this topic, you remove this, and then you see how your English would be. And I do not give any statement saying that without using phrasal verbs, it is highly impossible to communicate. No, I don't give that statement, but then I would say that this would enhance. So, clearly, using phrasal verbs would definitely enhance your ability of communicating with others or ability of effective communication. So, using phrasal verbs should be part and parcel of your communication process. So, you can wonder thinking that, madam, many of our friends are communicating without using phrasal verbs and idiomatics and so on and so forth. Yes, it's not impossible to communicate without using phrasal verbs, but you add these tools or idioms, phrasal verbs. So this will be one of the ingredients. Phrasal verbs, using phrasal verbs will be one of the useful and essential ingredient in this, that would really bring out the flavors. Just like you add beautiful herbals or any kind of spices to your dishes. So that important essential ingredient will definitely add on to the delicious curry that you are going to cook or delicious dish that you are going to make. In the same way, using phrasal verbs will definitely add a great and good flavor to your recipe. That is like your communication. So, and not only that, the listeners would really find it very interesting, but also they would feel it meaningful and crystal clear meaning will definitely be conveyed to them by using phrasal verbs. So English language is very important, like in our society. So the use of English language and communication in in the English language will definitely add some sort of strength and ability or a sort of resource or a sort of great strength to our lifestyle. So if you have this kind of desire to add the, very beautiful and very useful kind of communication or flavor to your communication, definitely do not wait until the time, right? You start preparing for phrasal verbs. So you can see it on the screen. You can pick it up, find out, read over, stand up, look after, blow up, bring up, use up, fill up, give up, check up, okay, run across, and then get through with and take care of, do over, run out, break in, break out, break down, and look in, look into, look on. So like you must be wondering why madam is coming up with so many words here and there, hasn't it? No, you are on the way to this kind of world, a phrasal verb world. These are a few examples I just enlisted. So you add, for example, this is just for instance, like the word or the verbs, phrasal verbs I used all will be part of your communication in case if you want to enhance, if you want to cheer up your discussion or conversation. Definitely, these will be very essential tools. Right, now, without lingering upon this concept, let me take you through the concept. Right. Phrasal verbs for your effective communication. So, phrasal verbs for communication could be possible, and phrasal verbs for effective communication is much possible when you have these things in your communication, or in this your in your conversation, or in your talk, informal or formal, or in informal sort of any discussion, or formal discussion, could be anything related to. Right. Now, you have to understand the concept of phrasal verbs prior to using them. So, yes, you are going to be in this adventure, and this could be very adventurous in a way. But, my dear listeners, I want to caution you, saying that there are two types here, types of phrasal verb. So, you can use them as formal, as expressions, or phrasal verb expressions, also informal phrasal verb expressions, or verbs, phrasal verbs. So, in both the contexts, in both settings, you can use them, but then you have to look for the right word, and you have to try to be, you should have an eye on the context first, and then you have to select based on the context you are into, right? So now, before you just bear on your mind that there are two types you can use, and mostly informal phrasal verbs can be used, but not for informal significance, but for formal significance. You have to pick, choose, and use these formal sort of effective phrasal verbs. Now, let me make you understand the concept of phrasal verbs, so that it will be very easier for you to use these phrasal verbs, right? So, phrasal verbs have kind of like structure. So, you need to understand the baseline, you need to understand the fundamentals of this concept. Now, particle is something is very significant in the use of phrasal verbs. The particle phrasal verbs, you have to you can make use of these structures, more than one structures, grammatical structures. And what are the structures? The structures that you might use can be verb, or prepositions, or could be adverbs, or could be the kind of any other similar structural elements. So make use of these grammatical structures, take them, and then add on with you can add on this kind of particles. Then grammatical structure and particle both can be together, put in a sentence, and you can start constructing, or you can start using these phrasal verbs. He woke up at 6:30 a.m. Right? I said. And so where is the particle there? So, a particle looks like a preposition. So now you might, or you have a question, you bear a question on your mind, saying that, ma'am, what do you mean by this particle? Yes, you're right. Particle means, you're right in understanding the concept of particle. Because without knowing that, all of you are much aware of these particles. But the problem is, they're not aware whether this is a particle, or what is a similar structure, what is it like. So, particle looks like what? A preposition, but it doesn't function as a preposition. So, you can see it physical appearance, or merely it could be a preposition, but in function it's not a preposition. So he woke up at 6:30 a.m. So up could be a kind of like adverb. Also, in its parts of speech, or in its position, it can be considered a preposition. So now he woke up at 6:30 a.m. could not be treated as a preposition in its function. So remember, and I caution that here preposition cannot be acted or functioned as according to its nature, in its function. So according to its nature, So what is a function of a preposition? It either talks about the verb, okay, how effective it is, or also it talks about this noun, okay, right? It goes along with this too. But here in phrasal verbs situation or context, they will get rid of their function, primary function, the prepositional function, but then they will just retain their own structure, but in function, the performance is different. He woke up at 6:30 a.m. means like he woke up at that particular time. Strangers woke him up, right? So here, up preposition went along with woke. Okay, woke. He woke up at 6:30 a.m. It's not about up or down. Okay, so generally up or position. You're talking about the position, right? In general sense. But here in phrasal verb context. So in this context, you can say that he woke him up at 6:30 a.m. It's like you wake him up. So that is a sense created here in this context. And strangers woke him up. So it is another context that's been created by the use of preposition in the use of a phrasal verb. Right. So now there are many prepositions you can see. Just now, like we have said, like wake up, break up. Okay, breakup is also sort of like you end your relationship. I want you to look into these phrasal verbs once we travel through some slides or some points to understand phrasal verbs. So I'll come back to this slide and explain you the meaning and the use and the situation and the context, example context, how you can use this phrasal verb. So just to give you a sort of introduction, kind of like sort of brushing about the concept and how these phrasal verbs look like. So what is the structure? What is its physical appearance? It's like. So to give you that, these are the examples like break even, break down, break in, break into, break down. Breakdown has two contexts where you can say like you can, in the case of fail, okay, so you fail something, or you fail, or you are unable to do that, you cease, you withdraw, or you give up, you stop. In that context you can say breakdown. But also in other context you can say is something that is decomposed, right? It got spoiled or it decayed, kind of like no more, life in that, and got rotten completely. So in that context, you can say, so we have seen two different meanings. And my dear listeners and audience, you have to evaluate that when you're learning phrasal verbs, you have to learn phrasal verbs with different meanings that particular phrasal verb you are using or learning. So always see that what is another meaning to it. Is that the only one meaning you are making use of, or there are multiple meanings, or there is another double meaning there. So check with that and then use it carefully and try to cater to the use and need of that particular demanding context. Right. I'll come back with this to the slide when we are discussing a few more examples before we wind up the topic. Now, let me take you through this phrasal verb context for a clearer understanding. Now, let us understand more about it, how you can use it and how you can use it. And prior to that, what is this sort of concept and how can you really understand? So how you can really break down its meaning and concept, and for a better clarity, kind of picture. Right? So now phrasal verbs are very common in English. They're very common, and they don't hail, from different, kind of context, but they're very much in use. And I hear students saying that, hang on, come on, hang up. Like, these are all informal phrasal verbs. So you might have understood, like you get exposed to some, like where you book an appointment, or you call up someone and you say, and you that receptionist or that person, customer service care person says, please hang up. hang up, hang on. So he's using unconsciously or consciously all these phrasal verbs, and they are sometimes more often used in, like they are more often used in any informal context, right? So could and explaining you the other point. Now, I was talking about this structure of a phrasal verb. So it has verb, preposition, or an adverb. So verb, preposition, you know, of any phrasal verb can have or can possess any of these, my dear. So you have to understand that. So need not have all three, verb, preposition, or an adverb, but then you can take, or it can be comprised of any one mentioned over here. So that is one thing. And then another point I'm much interested in sharing is that it creates meaning different from the original verb, and many times it can be replaced by a synonym. So many times you have original meaning of that particular word. I'll give you, you can see it very much on the screen. So many times you can see it, the meaning structurally, but then in its function, when you add these preposition, or when you add these prepositions, or when you add these grammatical structures called particles, definitely you're framing an entirely a different meaning there. So let me give you an example. Look, which you can see it on the screen, right? Look, you can understand that looking, seeing something, but you add for preposition look for, so the meaning is changed here. Generally, the original meaning of the base word meaning is look, is to see. You add this particle to frame a phrasal verb, and that it can be understood as look for. That means you search for something. So you search for something. So that is, see, the entire, is it not a wonder, I feel? Is it not a very different, a strange and very, it's very surprising for the English users. Like if you can notice, so you add all these kind of prepositions and you see a different meaning is altered or changed. So look is original meaning is see, and you add this particle for, and you together you can understand as look for, search, right? The meaning is search. Next. Next. Phrasal verbs. Now I told you, right? You can not only understand it as something very important, but also very useful, my dear learners, right? Oh, so now the base verb, it consists of a base verb. Example: catch or look. For example, catch or look. One or the other particles are added here. Like what are the other particles you can add, like on? Okay, so you can say it as like catch on, look for, okay, to, for, etc. So all these can be added there, right? Next. Now another example I can give you here is like I'll be late tonight, so don't wait up for me. I'll be late tonight, so don't wait for me. See, the base structure you can see wait, and you add base verb is wait, and you add particles to it. So up for preposition, or for is particle here. Also up could be is a preposition, and you have added, so wait for me. You add these particles to your base verbs, and you can convey a different meaning altogether. So wait for me can be understood like that. Next. Right. Now, let me make you understand the concept of particle in much more, in deeper level, so that you will never be able to eliminate or forget that concept. See, now you can see that diagram, right? Like you can see so many pieces of cake, right? So you see a cake, and where it is cut into different pieces. So you see that each separate piece, right? That is a particle. So Particles of what? Short words. So in phrasal verbs, particles or short words like to, for, like could be anything of, over, of, in, out, over, round, under, up, okay, by, down, back, away, along, right? See, so now what are particle category? They can be like all these things which I read aloud, along, away, back, by, and so on, which I mentioned it again, right? Next, now how you can use these particles to add to these phrasal verbs and together how they are formed. He ate up all his dinner. See, ate is a base verb and you add up, so particle, and then what you say is ate up. Okay, you eat it. He ate it, past tense. Okay, you eat it, present tense. He ate up all his dinner, all for himself, and he much in sooner. He did that. Okay, so quickly he ate up, and everything, all of it he has, and then finished his task. Sissy went away on a long trip. So went away. See, away is a particle here. So went is the base. So you add this particle, went away on a long trip. This is also another example. So he went away, that means he moved away and no longer in that particular place. And so completely he moved away. Okay, he went on. Like he moved away in the sense like for some time, but then what I mean is like he doesn't continue to be in that particular place. So that is why we can say he went away on a longer trip. Next, we will talk over the problem. We will talk over the problem. That means, see, talk is a base form and over the problem. You add this particle over, that is, you can consider it as like a talk over the problem together, a phrasal verb. So now, what is this talk over the problem means? Talk over the problem means discussing, its fits and faults. Okay, and so like some do's, it's like what are some merits and demerits, or what are some problems, like whatever it is, like you have a thorough discussion over that particular problem. So that is the meaning of it, right? So we will talk over the problem. And like there's another, we talk over the phone. So that is a different context altogether. But here when you say we'll talk over the problem, so what you're saying is that like you're trying to discuss thoroughly about the problem. Right. Another example I have for you here is Jimmy started out with $60. So started is a base form and out is a particle you use. So started. So that means that's only amount he started off with. So with $60, so it is the starting, the time that he used it. So he started it and he started that it is all like he was dependent on that meager amount in the beginning. So it's all the beginning he started off with. So started out means, see, so many meanings you can construct by adding particles to the base forms together, as can be called as phrasal verbs. Now a little more. A word or a part of a word that has a grammatical purpose but often has little or no meaning. A word or a part of a word that has a grammatical purpose but often has little or meaning. So it has grammatical purpose, okay, but particle, but not much significant when it is independent. So when it is added to the base form, it gives a rise to a huge meaning, could be heavily loaded meaning. So whereas you see it in its independent or in its condition, definitely it will be all alone. Right. Next, in the sentence, I tied up, for example, in a sentence like this, I tied up the room is, I cleaned. Okay. So I tied it up. Right. You add this particle to give rise to the meaning. The adverb up here is a particle, my dear listeners. So another example for you to understand this. Next. Many phrasal verbs and one-word verbs have similar meanings, my dear. So, learners. So, you have one word verbs also, and also they're very much similar, when we are discussing meanings of these phrasal verbs. So, wake up, you can use awaken, right? And these are similar with these synonyms, or these can be identified with synonyms. What? Phrasal verbs. Wake up, awaken, go on, continue, take off, remove. So you have to understand that these words have similar meanings. So you can say it, please take off your shoes. So take off is a phrasal verb. So sometimes they are very less formally used and more common in everyday speech. That is a reason, my dear listeners, I want, we are reiterating and we are emphasizing on this use of these phrasal verbs. That will really helpful, and it will be of much significance, in terms of your conversation or communication. Next, do you know how to use verbs in phrases like pick the kids up, pick the kids up, turn the music down, and look after my cat? See, pick the kids up, pick up, right? Music down. Okay, so turn down here. Where is a phrasal verb here? Where are the pick up is a phrasal verb. Turn down is a phrasal verb. Look after is a phrasal verb. So you say that you pick the kid up. Okay, you pick up the kid. So separately and even inseparable, like both ways you can say. You can turn down the music or turn the music down or look after my cat. So means like you look after my cat. That means like you look after their needs, or like you whatever, or the essential kind of like essential needs. You can really take it, and then turn down the music to lower. Okay, you pick up someone, right from that particular place. So that's the meaning. Now, as we've been discussing, that phrasal verbs are very common in English, especially in more informal contexts, right? And now that's a wholesome definition you can give when you have to understand about these phrasal verbs. So it could be one particle that can be added and another particle that could be added. So this particle often changes the meaning of that particular base verb. Like take, right? This is the base verb, and you add this particle of, and together, gives rise to a different meaning. Right? I called Jen to see how she was. Okay, call to. Okay, call. Okay, call to. That means like to telephone that person or to call over phone. I called Jen to see how she was. So that is a meaning, to speak over a over that matter, over telephone. Next, call off or called off in past tense. So they've called off the meeting. That means to cancel. My boss called off the meeting, emergency. On some emergency reasons, or that emergency he had to call off. So that means like to cancel completely. Right? That is another example. Now, in terms of word order, you see there are two. You have to understand, the sequential order and significance or structure of this phrasal verbs. Right? You can see separable and inseparable phrasal verbs. So separable, what are they and how are they and how can they be used? And inseparable, so is that, like how you can use them. So separable, they've called the meeting off. See, you can use separately also, like separable or inseparable, both can be used in any context. They've called the meeting off, and so like you can separate them. Inseparable is something they called of the meeting. So separable is like they call the meeting off. Separable, they separate, they call off into different places. Like call off, that means they've called the meeting off. Right? See how you are able to separate. Instead of saying that they've called up the meeting. So which do you feel is more very easy and very interesting? The choice is up to you, but you can also, right, you can use in any way. Like they've called the meeting off, or like you can say, like they've called off the meeting. So it's the ball is in your court. Right. So now let me take you through some more separable phrasal verbs. I didn't want to bring the situation at the meeting. See, I didn't want to bring the situation up at the meeting. So you eliminate this particle up, and there's no phrasal verb. Now include. I didn't want to bring the situation up at the meeting. So bring up. Separately you're using. So that's why like you scatter that in a sentence like to this some corner. Like you say, I didn't want to bring the situation up, or I didn't want to bring up the matter, or I didn't want to bring up the situation, you can say. But also to your convenience, in any convenient way, you can use like bring up, like start talking about that particular subject. He didn't want to bring up the matter, or he didn't want to bring the situation up at the meeting. So separately you can use. Next, another example. Please, can you fill this form? Please, can you fill this form? Now, where is the particle? Particle is missing. Now, arrow. Please, can you fill this form in? Or you can fill in the form, you can say. That means fill in. So, here, fill in means to fill up with the information. Write information in a form or a document. So, write information in a form or a document. So, that's a meaning. So you can fill in the form, or you can please can you fill this form in. Separately you can use. Right? Another example. I'll pick you up from the station at 8 p.m. So pick up. So this is the general phrasal verb. So how you use it in a sentence. So I'll pick up. That means you collect someone in a car. Right? Pick up. Like I'll pick you up, you can say. Or I have pick up at 5 o'clock today, 5 p.m. today in the like in that particular place. So collect someone in a car or other vehicle to take them anywhere or somewhere, right? So separately you can use I'll pick you up from the station, right? And another example that I would like to give you is she turned the job down because she didn't want to move to Glasgow. Like she turned. So what is the phrasal? Where is the phrasal verb here? Turn down. So that means like did not accept. That means not to accept. So to not accept an offer. Like she turned the job down because she didn't want to move. That means she didn't accept. She rejected. She didn't accept. She didn't receive. That's the sense. That's the sense of this sentence. Right? She turned the job down because she didn't want to move to Glasgow. Right. Now we'll see some non-separable, like phrasal verbs. Like we've seen phrasal verbs earlier, and now we see non-separable phrasal verbs. Some phrasal verbs cannot be separated, my dear. My dear listeners, earlier phrasal verbs we can separate and talk, but here in some situation where you cannot separate phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs cannot be separated. So who looks after the baby when you are at work? Who looks after? You can say who looks the baby after when you are at work. So you cannot say it and break into pieces. That you can say who looks after the baby when you are at work. So that is a sense created. Who looks after her when you are at work? So that is a sense here. Who looks after her when you are at work? For example, her is a pronoun, right? Even when you add or not, you don't add, the particle and verb remain together. So irrespective of these pronouns used, still the meaning or the particle remains the same. Who looks after the baby or who looks after her when you are at work. So even this use of pronouns will not make much change is a point that I'm trying to convey. Next, so first example, I came across your email when I was clearing my inbox. I came across. So came across is the phrasal verb. So that means to past tense used. So Very often I feel students get confused with this past tense. They think that is another phrasal verb. Like come across, they do not know that it is in present tense. And they think came across is another phrasal verb. No, it is the same, but you use it in the tense accordingly. Right? In the tense, you need it accordingly. But there is no different meaning here given in this, the same phrasal verb, come across, came across or come across. So I came across your email when I was clearing my. So to find something by chance, unexpectedly, or suddenly when I'm going through it, it's like just bulk. Like I found it, suddenly, unexpectedly. Right, that is the meaning of it. Now, second example: the caterpillar turned into a beautiful butterfly. Turn into. Turn into means to become. So it turned into a beautiful butterfly. So to change, to develop, or to become. So that is means you are not separating here. The caterpillar turned a beautiful butterfly into. No, you are not using like that. It is inseparable and the meaning will be different. You cannot break into different words, okay, chunks. So that is why you have to use it at once. The caterpillar turned into a beautiful butterfly. That is a sense created. Next, some more example. It was quite a major operation. It took months to get over it and feel normal again. It was quite a major operation. It's like you say, it took quite a few months. So it was quite a major operation. It took months to get over it. Get over means to recover and to come to normalcy. So recover from the ailment or the illness. So that is the meaning of it, right? Get over, recover from something. So that is the meaning. So here you are not separating. Here this is inseparable. This is not separated. This is inseparable. Next, another example. We are aware of the problem. We are looking into it. We are aware of the problem and we are looking into it. Look is the base word. You cannot say that it is like looking. Like look means to see, but you add this particle look into, investigate, look into the matter, look into the crime, look into the issue very seriously. So that is a sense of the sentence of the phrasal verb here. So that means to investigate. You are not using it, or you are not bringing like look into means like you do not change and separate and use that in any context. So at one go, we are using that. Now, till now we looked at only one particle, like phrasal verbs with one particles. Now, slight deviation, but the same concept, my dear listeners. So you can understand phrasal verbs with two particles are also inseparable. Phrasal verbs with two particles are also inseparable, right? With two particles there. Even if you use a pronoun, you put it after the particles also. So let's see, who came up with that idea? Who came up? Came up, one a particle. Came up with, you are adding two particles here. So, who came up with that idea? So, come up with means to think of an idea or a plan. So, here you used two particles and these are inseparable. You don't say who came up that idea with, right? You don't say that. That is very, it sounds ridiculous and it's not at all meaningful in that context. Second example, let's get rid of these old magazines to make more space. To get rid of something. So let's get rid of these old magazines to make more space. So get rid of. Here we are not only saying that you either you remove or become free of something that you do not want. Basically, that is the meaning of this rid of. Right? And then, so let's get rid of this, let's be free from that. So that is like an inseparable that is. So you can use it. Next, another example. I didn't really get on with my stepbrother when I was a teenager. I didn't really get on with my stepbrother when I was a teenager. Get on, and you added one more particle, that is two particles, like get on with here. On with two particles, but still the meaning is very good there, and you did not spoil the meaning or the base verb of the phrasal verb in that particular sentence. So get on with means to like and be friendly towards someone. So yeah, I could get on with him very easily. That means I'm very friendly and I maintain good terms. So that is a sense of this. Next. Can you hear that noise all the time? Can you hear that noise all the time? I don't know how you put up with, put up with, put up, and also two particles, put up with, inseparable. Put up with means tolerate something difficult or something which is very annoying. So I cannot put up with this girl when I say. That means I'm urged by her actions. So I cannot have my tolerance towards my child or that particular girl you're referring to. So that is why put up with means not to be able to tolerate. Next, another example. The concepts on Friday, the is on Friday contraction. I'm really looking forward to it. Forward to. See, both are used here. So looking for or look forward to means to be happy and excited and eagerly waiting for that. So about something that is going to happen. So you're eagerly waiting. You look forward to be happy and excited about something that is going to happen. So that is a sense of it. Next. Now we will try to understand and look into some more phrasal verbs and with their meanings. Catch on. Catch on means like to become popular or of something which is very fashionable. Tear something up. Tear something up means like destroy something such as a piece of paper. Okay, tear something up. Next, stay in. Stay in means that means stay in here, we say, right? So to be at that particular place, one place, stay at home. Next, keep in with somebody means to stay friendly with them. Keep in with, to be very friendly with them. Laugh something off. Laugh something off. Joke about that, something, and to make people think you do not believe it, to be serious or important. That means like joke about something in order to make people that you really do not believe or do not trust in that concept. So to be serious or to be important. That's the meaning. Laugh something off. Laugh at something. See, laugh, the base is the same. Base original word is the same. But when you add different words, something, somebody, off, at, the meaning changes in these phrasal verbs. Say unkind things about somebody that are intended to make them look stupid. So say you laugh at something, you jeer. Okay, you jeer at them, like you mock at them, and you look down upon them. So say unkind and favorable words at someone that are intended to, that make them look stupid. So another phrasal verb is calm down. That means to become more relaxed and less emotional. Calm down, please calm down yourself. We say, right? Now there are like you take any concept and you can come up with different phrasal verbs. See, problems. Okay, the concept is problems, and you can use several phrasal verbs. You use these phrasal verbs, my dear listeners, and see what will happen. The miracle of using phrasal verbs will definitely be very fruitful and enjoying. Okay, so you use them, right? When you are talking about the problems, you can say talk over something. You knuckle down someone, talk over that we've already discussed in the previous slide. Run up against, okay, that means deal with unexpected problems or a difficult opponent, right? You ran up against someone unexpected, that's the sense, right? Next, think through means that means like carefully looking at the results of something, right? They fail to think through the problem. right? Next, knuckle down. That means like you begin to work hard on something. Like I'm going to have knuckle down to seriously study, to some serious study. So work hard to in order to gain. Okay, wrestling with, trying to find a solution. He's trying to wrestle with a, solution. He's looking up, with, up for a great solution. Run into problems, like start experiencing your difficulties. That is like the event was going well. However, at the last moment, we ran into a few problems. That means like few problems, right? Some more examples for you here. Ask somebody, that means ask somebody out, right? Ask somebody out means to invite on a date. Okay, ask someone to invite on a date. And also ask around. Ask around means like you asking many people the same question. Asking many people the same question. Add up to something. Add up to something means that is something equal. Okay, that is equal to that price. Add up to something. Back something up, or back up means like you reverse the order in a way. Okay, back up. Another meaning, there's also another meaning, support them. Blow up. Blow up, you explode. Okay, exploding something is what we means blow. And also blow something up, that means you add air. Okay, that means you blow up 50 balloons, for example. Okay, that is a sense. Breakdown. Breakdown means stop functioning. It could be like vehicle, some machine or something like breakdown, something completely stop down. Okay, stop functioning. Next, breakdown. See, there are so many same phrasal verbs but with different meanings. Breakdown. Get upset. Get upset. Okay, that means you broke down. She was very upset. But see, so many phrasal verbs. Breakdown means stop functioning. Breakdown means get upset. Break something down. That means like divide into parts. Break in again. Students, my dear learners, there are different like context, but you have to use the same phrasal verb. So with different meaning, you can use the same phrasal verbs. That's why you should be able to, for example, for any speaker, he or she may not feel difficult to use the same phrasal verb because the structure remains the same. But for a person, who is able to understand, you have to understand the meaning of another context also, so that you can understand, the same phrasal verb can be used in a different context. So you can make use of it. That is why the knowledge of these phrasal verbs is very important. So for example, you talk to your person, and wherein you open up the conversation, very important conversation, wherein the person is using break up. Okay, so when he uses this breakup, and you do not have another the knowledge of this word, the phrasal verb, that only one meaning, that is to end up a relationship. But then you do not know a second meaning, like start laughing, there is another meaning to it. So when you start thinking only on those lines, what does he mean by breakup, like to end a relationship, right? So you have to be very you have to have this sort of understanding, so that you can understand what the person is saying in the context. So you have to know more than one meanings, and if the same phrasal verb has multiple meanings, you have to be aware of that. So not very confusing, but it takes some time to master them, right? Break in means you break and you broke in, like you forcibly enter some place, like entry to a building. Okay, next, break into something, that is like the same, like enter forcibly. Break in, you broke in, like interrupted. Break up, to end a relationship. Okay, or start laughing, another example. So in this way, like you can make use of all these phrasal verbs, in a very effective manner, to add nice flavor to your communications. My dear students, I would say, see, I told you, right? You can just make use of several phrasal verbs, so that the listener who is listening to you will be very cheerful. And, or for example, if you are appearing for an interview, and wherein you use all the words, and definitely he will be much impressed by your presentation, right? Like I promised you to go through this slide in the beginning, like how you can use, for example, problems we saw, knuckle down and wrestling with, and this, and also for this break. Okay, something related to the base verb is break, and how many phrasal verbs you can use when you use different particles like out, away, like break up, that we have seen, and a relationship, break away, that means to become separated, literally or figuratively. Like a chunk of rock broke away. That is like, got separated. And then break out, broke out. Break out means to escape from that particular context. And another is like you break down. Break down means to cease to function, to stop, or something that is to function is no more. Okay, break into, that means to begin to use. Okay, so you break into that. Like for example, like I finally broke into the second like package of cookies. Like you start opening up or you start using it. And break down, that is to decay or to decompose. Next, to break in. Break in means like enter a place by force or by illicit means. Enter a place by force, or for example, like broken. Somebody broke in and stole his television. Like some theft happened. Break even, neither gain or nor lose money. After my entire night playing poker, he nearly broke even, right? Next, break down, to fail or to see. Break down, to decompose, as we have already known. Break down also means to digest. His stomach took a while to break down his food. So these are the words you can, really make use of when you are talking about these phrasal verbs. And in any, for enhancing and for beautiful communication and for sound communication, you can make use of all these phrasal verbs, for great communication. So, my dear listeners, hope you have understood these phrasal verbs, and now I'm sure you will definitely be able to use them in your conversation. So, try using some amazing phrasal verbs for your effective communication. Right? Thank you. Thank you so much for listening, paying attention.
Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.